Hey guys, subscribe for daily content. And if you're shopping for gear, make sure you check out the description for the newest items at some of the very best online retailers. There's also links for some of the items that I personally recommend. Thanks!
What's going on YouTube? Metal Complex here, and today I've got another interesting knife review / knife overview to share with you guys. This is the Daggerr Parrot. Really kind of a funny name for this knife, the Parrot. Okay, this is another one of those dagger knives that has a very interesting aesthetic, and of course that super interesting kind of ridiculous pocket clip. This knife was also sent by, it was the same gentleman who sent the other one, No Dreams Too Big, or Palmetto EDC. Please make sure to follow him. It's because of people like him that I'm able to bring you guys daily knife content. It's also because of my generous patrons. Thanks for supporting me. There's a link for Patreon right down below. And please make sure to follow me on Instagram at metal_complex. I will link dagger knives right down in the description. It seems like some of these models are out of stock and they have other models that are in stock. I'll invite you guys to check these knives out. They're not horribly expensive. Some of them are less than others, but you can use those links if you want to. Let's go ahead and measure this thing. This is a huge, huge pocket knife. Overall length of the Parrot, 10.5 inches. It's almost 10 3/4 with the glass breaker thing. The blade length is coming in at 4.75 inches and 4 1/4 on the cutting edge. Wow. Size comparisons up against the the Rat 1, which is dwarfed by this thing. And then there's the Rat Model 2. How about up against the Spyderco PM2 and the Spyderco Para 3? Once again, both knives completely and totally dwarfed by the Parrot here. And then last but not least, the Benchmade Reptilian, or in this case the Rear Hogue, and the Bug Out. Okay, we've established that this is a huge knife. This knife operates with a button-operated liner lock. And yeah, it's pretty cool. That is a huge... It's not a traditional button lock because it's not a cylindrical plunge lock. The lock itself is a liner lock. It's just moved with the button, right? It's much like the Smock from Spyderco. Let's do carry profile. Thickness up against the Spyderco Para 3. It's not that thick. It's definitely thicker than the Para 3, though. Length and height up against the PM2 and Para 3. It's not going to be height that's going to bother you with this guy. It's going to be the length. This is a big thing to carry in your pocket, right? I know, Cold Steel Espada XL people will be like, this guy ain't got no idea. He don't even know what it's like to carry a big knife. Okay, type me up a paragraph. I won't read it, and then we can all go on with our day. Let's go ahead and do blade stock thickness here. Let me get my calipers set back to 0. The blade stock thickness on this guy, it's reasonably thick blade. Yeah, almost 160 thousandths. That's Hinder XM18 territory. This is, it's kind of a robust, long, pointy knife. Materials, we are looking at D2. Okay. And then we're looking at G10 with some countersunk and milled steel liners there on the inside. Weight, I'm going to guess this guy weighs north of 6 ounces. Yeah, 6.5 ounces. It's going to be a heavy knife. Heavy, long, big knife, right? If you got big old Jenko jeans, right, then, okay, knock yourself out, right? I wouldn't be running around with this thing in athletic shorts or fitted pants, but, hey, they're your pants. You bought them. It's your knife. You bought the knife, right? Do what you want. Just make sure it's legal to carry and own in your area, because this thing is huge, right? Big, long blade. Hardware check. Let's get out my tools. As per usual, my tools are very inexpensive and very recommendable. You can find them right down in the description in the section that talks about my tools. T8, I'm guessing, for that pivot. Yeah. And for whatever reason, T6 on everything else. Okay, not that big of a... There's not really that much hardware. Just make sure you've got quality tools. These guys right here. And you should be good to go. Okay, so let me say this. This button, like, they have a bunch of different models that have, like, they've got standard liner locks and this and that. Dagger knives, I don't know, if they're going to watch. Do this on, like, everything. That's what people want to see, right? it's like, well, liner lock will work just fine. I've been using liner locks for my whole life. No, Ontario Rat One use a liner lock for 99. Okay, fine. Then buy that and just like that. Okay, but we have enough of them. We have enough liner locks. There's button locks out there, right? There's other things out there, right? But it's fun and it's interesting, and something that's this gigantic that operates this well. You can see here how easy this is. This is fun. It doesn't need to, I mean, it's like, do I need this in order for this to be utilitarian? No, but it does work in a setting, I don't know, I can't imagine what setting that I would really need this big of a folding knife in. But if I had this and I was in a work setting and I needed to get it out of my pocket, deploy it and then put it away, this works really well, and it's fun too. That's a pretty low profile flipper tab that just sticks straight up. It works. You're gonna kind of run your index finger down. It's a lot of blade to get whipped out of there. Pretty heavy, so you got to pull pretty hard on that. But it works, and this is like a gigantic fidget knife. But it also will work in a work setting, right? If you need convenience of operation or ease of manipulation, it's also there, right? For people wanting to criticize, I don't even play with my knives, and knives ain't toys. Okay, it's serious. I'm gonna take my time to click on this video and watch it, knowing that I'm definitely in knife enthusiast territory, and then comment for the 7,000th time that we ain't supposed to be playing with our knives. Okay, falling on deaf ears. This is fun to play with. Stuff like this is going to continue to exist, and I'm going to continue to applaud it because it's fun. It's different. Dagger knives. Do more of this. Forget the liner lock stuff. We got a billion of those. These are cool. More models like this. This is fun in a novelty sense that it's like gigantic, but this exact thing scaled down to about 7.5 inches. Yeah, 7.5, 8 inches, something like that. That's gonna work really well. I like these button operated liner locks. I think they're cool. This also has a fun look to it. It's just different, right? It looks like it's gonna kind of be this slender, almost delicate object, and then you turn this way and you're like, oh boy, no, that's a thick boy. He's kind of a chunky boy. It throws the senses off. Ergonomically, you've got a lot of real estate to hang on to this knife. You can choke up here. This whole area is kind of friendly to the finger. It's kind of a weird thing to hang on to, right? It feels like you can't really put your finger on what you're supposed to use it for. Is it some sort of grill accessory, right? Or is it, some sort of like primal hunting tool? Is it, some sort of grappling hook, something I should attach a rope to and throw to the top of a building? I don't know. But it's different, and it makes it interesting. It makes, this is the type of thing that knife people like to show to other people who are knife people or sometimes non-knife people, because it's weird. It's kind of crazy. I appreciate, once again, we're looking at a nice, even tumbled finish that just looks good. The blade is thick, edges are nicely knocked down. There's plenty of robustness carried out to that tip, right? The edge is done really well. It's not super thin. It's gonna slice, it's gonna cut. It's just not gonna be as good as your open L, right? Open L people, my open L can slice. Okay, not gonna be that good, but it'll do the trick, right? I don't know what specifically you would need this big of a folding knife for, but if you really want to carry it, it's probably gonna get the job done just fine, right? Maybe you're a pineapple chopper and halfer. This will be okay. I would recommend a different knife for that, right? But maybe you just really want a folding knife for that. It'll probably get the job done. Most pineapples will be cut in half by this. Let's see here. Fit and finish is excellent. Everything looks great. The button lock depresses with ease. It doesn't get stuck or hung up in there. We've got what I assume is a steel backspacer. Let me get my magnet. Oops. Yeah, that's a steel backspacer. Pocket clip appears to be reversible. Now, I'm going to guess you're probably going to have to get at this with some, maybe some vice grips, or use your Leatherman or whatever. I'd wrap a cloth up so if you're going to undo it, you don't mess it up. Truthfully, I don't need the glass breaker at all. I think just a screw there. Whatever, right? If you like the glass breaker, then there it is. It's there for you to break glass. You can flip this thing around. Left-handed people, you can carry it and you'll be operating the button with your index finger. But as you can see here, it works just fine. I'm almost thinking, does it work better like that? I don't know. Left-handed people, you'll be using your index finger with this guy. Lanyard hole, off to the side, not prioritized. Once again, we have this hilarious clip that is going to just start to be the, the thing with these knives. A lot of people are going to say, I would buy that knife if it weren't for the pocket clip. Some people are going to say, I don't really like the clip, but I like the knife enough to buy it. And other people are going to say, I love it. I'm buying the knife specifically because of that pocket clip. Seeing how stuff like this works, right? Again, looking at the Chavez Redention 229, which originally was just the Redention, that's kind of what made that knife famous. So even though he is now catering to the other, the rest of the people who are like, I'd buy it if you had a more regular clip, it is arguably a good marketing strategy to do something ridiculous like this. The clip functions just fine. I don't really like these divots, right? Truthfully, I don't really like how the clip looks at all. It's abrupt and kind of ridiculous, but again, it's like I can't really fault them for that. Maybe they want people to, to talk about it, right? Even if some people hate it, the fact that we're talking about it is free advertising for them. The fact that I'm making such a big deal out of this clip and other people will inevitably make a big deal out of it, it's free advertising for them, right? Maybe they reach somebody who wouldn't otherwise have known had they not heard the conversation and then end up buying it because they decide that they like it, right? So yeah, that's kind of how that stuff works. Moving on. It's not a hot spot because it's so far away from when you're, unless you're like gripping it down here. Well, yeah, okay, if you're holding it like this, it's kind of a hot spot, but I'm going to be holding it up here like this, right? So really that big of a deal. Lockup, this guy. Completely and totally solid. Completely. We've got good engagement back there. You can see where that is contacting the tang, right? Stop pin is internal, and it's also attached. Hold on. It's attached to the blade. Can we see it in there? Kind of. Yeah, it's riding on a channel on the inside of the liners. I like to see that. Looks good. There's a closed position stop pin back here. Centering. It's pretty close. I would imagine it's from me playing with it. Probably could adjust this pivot and be okay. In fact, we might as well give it a try, right? Let's see. Sometimes you have to adjust the body screws as well, but we'll try the pivot. Let's give her a quick turn here. Just a little bit. How are we now? That's pretty darn close. I'm still falling shut. I bet I could give it a little bit more. Still falling shut? We're getting a little tight. We still want that good action. No use if the blade being centered is no use if we're not achieving that nice action, right? How are we now? Yeah, I'd say that's centered, folks. So yeah, just a quick turn of the pivot. It's from me flipping it, playing with it. That massive blade swinging out is gonna, all knives do that. You just need to Loctite them. Anyways, so what does this knife cost? Oh yeah, wait. We have no detent lash. We have no pivot lash. And like I said, it's locking up solid. Pretty nice. What does this knife cost? It costs $95. G10 and D2. It's interesting. Again, this shows that the country of origin is Russia. I'm not sure if it's like in-house Russia, right? It wouldn't surprise me if we have some outsourcing going on, or perhaps if the entire knife is actually made by some other OEM in another country. I don't know. It's just I'm just getting a vibe from this. Maybe that's the case. I don't actually know. On retailers like Blade HQ, it says country of origin Russia, and that's all the information that I have. Not that I would necessarily judge it. It's like, okay, but just like, be clear about who's... I don't know. I'm not saying factually. I don't know anything, right? I'm just speculating. That's all that I'm doing. It's not a factual thing. It's just my opinion. This knife is obviously ridiculous. It's fun and it's cool, and I'm really glad that I'm getting to look at it because it makes I review so many knives where I'm like, oh, it's good, but it's freaking boring. This knife is not a recommendable knife because it's freaking gigantic and it's just crazy. It's gonna be illegal for a lot of people. But it's fun and it's cool and it's different. And, they did this button lock liner thing really well. Really well. I think Daggerr knives should focus on doing that and making the two knives that I've handled so far are pretty big. I think they should focus on, still do the wild and crazy stuff, right? Obviously, they got the crazy pocket clip. They're in for some, unique designs. Keep at that by all means, but make smaller. This exact knife scaled down to like 7.5 inches or so, I think would go over really well. Make it a little thinner. Do this button lock thing. That makes me feel a little bit better, you know, when I'm going to spend more than the typical $50 you spend on a budget knife, right? The reason I'm saying that is because this is not in budget territory at 95 bucks, but it's G10 and D2, which are materials that people associate with the budget knife world. Again, just like I said in the last Daggerr knives review, I think that they should be messing around with, you know, more spicy steels, just to kind of tickle the fancies of the people who are in this for the enthusiast reasons, right? The enthusiast buyers, because that's a lot of the people who are going to be paying attention to these types of knives are those people. And, you know, I include myself in that. Will D2 work from a utilitarian standpoint? Of course it will. I'm not arguing that. It's just, I don't really like to see D2 at 100 bucks. I'm not talking about CPM D2. A lot of people always like to say, some companies charge $700 for D, or $500 for D. Those companies are using CPM D2. This is ingot form D2. That's different. It's a different steel. Regular ingot form D2, that's 50 bucks. That's where I want to see that, right? If we're going to go higher, even if they're doing weirder stuff, I want to see like your Nitro Vs and your 14C28N and stuff like that. That's what I want to see. Your 154 CM. I want to see steels like that, right? So this, in this form, not recommendable, but it's fun. If you're like, man, screw your recommendation complex, I think it's cool. You're going to like this. You're going to overpay for it a little bit, but you're going to like this. 95 bucks, my ideal version of this knife, if you're wondering. 7.5 inches. Thin it down a little bit, blade and scales. One of those steels, Nitro V, 14C28N, 154 CM. Yeah, that's cool. That'd be fun, right? I think Daggerr knives should really focus on this button operated liner lock thing. I think that's fun. They can obviously do it well. This is a well-made knife. It's fun. It's just not going to be for everybody, right? Still cool though. All right. It's going to be pretty much it for today's video. I hope you guys were at least mildly entertained by this. Once again, thanks again to No Dreams Too Big or Palmetto EDC on YouTube for sending this in for me to take a look at. If you guys enjoyed this video, be sure to follow me on Instagram as well. If you guys enjoyed this video, leave a like. If you'd like to check out my other content, I do, of course, have lots of videos of knives that are either expensive or inexpensive that I do or don't like, so check those out. And if you enjoy all my content, go ahead and click on that Metal Complex logo right there and subscribe because there's definitely more coming. Thanks again for watching, everybody, and have a great day.